Good evening, and we're coming on the air at this hour with breaking news after the U.S. warned all day of a full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine, that it was imminent. Vladimir Putin.
When we first learned about the invasion, we were having a meeting, we were having a campaign leadership meeting that morning, and I called David immediately and said, we need to do something. We need to raise significant money to help those Jews and others.
What we've seen in the last 4 years is the ability of the Federation to address the most critical needs across our community, and it's having meaningful impact. With the outbreak of war in Ukraine, we, as an organized Jewish community, were prepared to respond, and respond we did.
It's just so reminiscent of what happened during the Holocaust. David Warren and I knew that we had to start a relief campaign to help them get out, to help them live. We knew that this community, when there is a crisis, they come together.
Within a matter of weeks, tens of millions of dollars were raised to meet the most urgent needs in Ukraine. And then when I, along with Carolyn Gitlin and Joel Dolitsky, visited the border of Poland and Ukraine, we saw how the support provided by our community was making the most critical difference in the lives of those fleeing. I'm standing on Tuesday, March 22nd at the border between Poland and Ukraine. We spoke to refugees who had just crossed the border in the last couple of days. They described horrors, bombs falling, bullets flying in their neighborhoods, through their houses. Some of them were just too traumatized to speak. We will do everything in our power to support and help these refugees. Wherever there are Jews in need around the world, our community is there. Israeli efforts to rescue Ethiopian Jewry go back several decades. The Ethiopian Jewish community traces its roots in the destruction of the First Temple. While disconnected for centuries from much of the rest of the Jewish world, maintained Jewish practice and Jewish identity and a fervent dream to return to Jerusalem.
I'm standing here with some wonderful children outside of a community center in Gondar, Ethiopia. And I'm here with 60 lay leaders and professionals, and we are learning about how people have been waiting for years and years to make Aliyah to Israel.
Several of our leaders had an opportunity to participate in a rescue mission where a couple of hundred Ethiopian Jews were airlifted.
They had no electricity, no plumbing. Families lived 5 or 6 in one bed. It was a sight I will never forget, but they were smiling. And as we walked through, I always had my eye on this little girl, her hair in braids, and I said to myself, she could be my daughter. So her mother had all this stuff, had her brothers, couldn't handle getting down the steps. So I grabbed her hand, I still feel her hand in mine, little Esther, and we walked down the steps together, and she was beaming, her mom was beaming. I get choked up thinking about her. It was beautiful, it was just beautiful. Everyone waving flags, singing songs. It was really a sight.
It was so important for us to be proximate, to witness firsthand what's happening in order to generate support within our own community. It was also important to show up, to send a message to those fleeing that there's a larger Jewish world that cares.